Hello, and welcome to the occupational therapy session of the Adjustment to Motherhood group. My name's Sue Watter, and I'm one of the occupational therapists that work in the community perinatal team. I've been in OT since 1996, but had a 10-year career break to be a mum and also to do a job that fitted around childcare, so working as a teaching assistant for 6 years. I have 3 children, 22, 20 and 16. My eldest is working, my middle one is at university and my youngest is still at school. I spent most of my OT career working in adult mental health services in the community, and I've worked in the perinatal team now for just over 2.5 years. It can be exciting becoming a parent. It may be something you've wanted for a long time, or it may just be something that you've been dreading or not wanting. Either way, it's usually a very emotionally intense time. You won't get much sleep, and care of a newborn baby can be particularly demanding and very draining. You may be recovering from a difficult birth, or maybe struggling with breastfeeding or bottle feeding, whilst also learning about your new baby and how to look after them. One of the most important things to think about is to take a compassionate stance when thinking about yourself and others. We're all doing the best we can in the situations that we are in. Today, I'd like to share with you some ideas around thinking about managing our expectations, starting to think about developing a rhythm in our daily lives, tackling the idea of looking after ourselves as well as looking after baby, and thinking about our role change. So thinking about the new me versus the old me. Please don't think because I'm sharing this with you that I'm perfect and have this together. I struggle too. Don't compare your worst day to someone else's best day. Now we're going to consider the expectations we have around becoming a mother and how they can impact on how we adjust to parenthood. We often enter parenthood having certain expectations of what we will be like as a parent, what our babies will be like, and how others will be once the baby has arrived. But often these expectations are very different to reality. I wonder if any of you have heard of matrescence. It's a bit like adolescence, but for mums. So like teenagers, mums have lots of hormonal changes, physical changes, changes in their role and expectations, new responsibilities and new challenges. Some of these changes and challenges are positive, but many lead to uncertainty. We talk about the different trimesters in pregnancy, and when we have the baby, it's like the 4th trimester. But if you're a first-time mum, when the baby arrives, it's actually like your first trimester as a mum, a new phase in your life that comes with big adjustments and uncertainty. The expectation is that we use our intuition, but this is difficult if we're not sure. Let's face it, we don't just get into a car and start driving. We have lessons, we practice, and then we have to pass a test. Previously, your identity was organized around yourself. But when you have your baby, relationships and activities are different, and baby has to be taken into account. When we think back to our expectations, we often want to be perfect, but this is not necessary. What we need to aim for is to be good enough, and that's fine. We need to be flexible and adjust our expectations, maybe simplify them. It's a social construct about the ideal mother who's always jolly and happy, always puts the needs of the children first, doesn't have many needs of her own, doesn't make decisions she regrets, and always knows what to do for the best. A lot of women compare themselves to that mother. They never measure up because she's a fantasy. Adjusting your own expectations of yourself is one of the most powerful tools you have. Take time to think about this. Comparison is the thief of joy, which includes comparing ourselves to ourselves. For example, a time when we managed more, coped better, had less responsibility. If we compare ourselves to this benchmark, then we'll frequently be disappointed. Mum guilt is a sense you're not living up to the expectations you had about what being a mum is or society suggests you should be. We can all watch celebrities on social media and think they have their lives sorted and everything seems straightforward, but the reality is always so different. We also have expectations of others, and this needs to be considered. A sure way to cause stress is not to have clear expectations. Have you negotiated your roles with your partner or the people who support you? Who does what? And are you both happy about the division of labour? Unmet expectations breed resentment, and resentment can have a big impact on relationships. Often circumstances change, a new job, an earlier start time for school, or a new baby, and then a renegotiation needs to take place. Remember, remind yourself what you're doing, not failing at. Accept who you are rather than have an unrealistic expectation. Lots of things are out of our control, so adjust your expectations if they're too high. When you say should, I should have done the washing up, I should have gone out, I should have done this, reframe it to something more positive. And talk to those around you about what helps and what you find difficult and how support can be tailored to your needs. Next, we're going to talk about rhythms in particular, about striking a balance between a rhythm and a routine. I just wanted to mention here that some of what I'm about to talk about is more relevant for the post 3 months postpartum. So after you've had your baby, when they're about 3 months old. We know that all babies are unique, have different personalities, and there is no book or schedule out there that will perfectly provide a manual on what to do. Instead, your baby is the manual, and you can learn from them what they need. Responsive parenting and rhythms can be helpful in supporting you to learn from your baby. The trouble with strict routines is that if it doesn't go to plan, it throws everything out and feels like a failure. But if you have a rhythm that you work to, it feels much more achievable. And if things happen later, it doesn't mean everything is a failure. A sense of order allows for calm predictability. It's worth investing in thinking about a rhythm and what you want this to include. Thinking about a balance in your daily life. What would you like to do in a day? What does balance look like? And what does it include? And how would you achieve this? So what are the components or a recipe for a good day? Does it include self-care, baby care, playing, going out, your social needs, relaxation? All these things need to be looked at. We can't pour from an empty cup or drive a car without fuel, so we really need to look after ourselves. Think about and name your priorities. For some people, being in a physically cluttered environment is very anxiety-provoking, but for others, it's how they function. For some people, being boundaried about what you do and when you do it can be really, really helpful. Let's think about managing chores. Sometimes it's helpful to identify and prioritize 3 things you must do every morning and evening. We know that ritualistic activities create habits in your brain that initiate or cue the next habit. So if you tag a chore onto a habit that you already do every day, it'll be easier to have this as part of your daily rhythm. For example, when you brush your teeth, if after that you want to include having some water, if you always drink that water after you've brushed your teeth, you'll soon build that into being a habit. Another example, when you make your bed, maybe you always sort the laundry afterwards. That then will become a habit. If you load the dishwasher in the morning, maybe you could tag on sorting the laundry or making the beds after that. Remember, if it doesn't happen, it's okay. Or if it happens later, it's okay. Pushing the domestic tasks to the edges of the day helps to create a sense of control and reduces the overwhelming impact of all tasks. So doing things either at the beginning or the end of the day really helps. It also means you can engage in meaningful activity and be productive in the meat of the day. Another means of helping is to organise your space. Our environment has a huge impact on us and how we function. Putting a few very simple systems in place makes a huge difference. Why don't you get organised the night before? Get out the baby clothes. Get out your clothes. Pack your necessary bags. Check your route the night before and the parking options. Have a large basket to put all the toys in before you go out. Create a command centre. For example, having a calendar so you can all see what everyone is doing and when. Have a list of meals for the week. Create a menu together. What about a to-do list for the house chores? Near the door, keep your keys, your baby wipes in a drawer next to the front door so it's all ready to go and to pack into your changing bag. If you follow the same sequence of activities each day, you're building habits and thus reducing the need for decision-making, memory and planning, which, let's face it, if we're feeling sleep deprived or just tired and baby's crying, these are the things that really matter. The reason for this is that one habit cues the next. Behavioural research shows us that to make habits stick, we have to do them the same every time, because this is what builds the neural pathways in our brains that are responsible for habit formation. So figure out what each family member needs to do each day and create a sequence that works. As behaviours become more automatic, we can use precious resources on other things. Next, we're going to look at and consider self-care, well-being, and baby care. What is self-care? Everything you need to do each day to look after yourself and stay well is self-care. This sounds deceptively easy. When you're low on sleep, low in energy, bored, perhaps your mood is low, you've not seen your friends for a while, you've lost your old routine, it's difficult to get out, you've not done the things you used to do to keep yourself well. This is when self-care gets really hard. Now add to this the constant responsibility of a baby who needs you for everything. Finding time for anything will be difficult, and often the first thing that slips is your own self-care. Challenge yourself. Your needs are just as important as others, which includes your baby. When we meet our own needs, we're more likely to be able to meet the needs of others. Also, being a good role model to our children by recognising the importance of looking after ourselves. Saying no or not now is also a form of self-care. Sometimes we feel like we have to plan what we're going to do every minute of every day. Sometimes it's more productive just to have a break, have a little bit of time away from baby. Sometimes rest is the most productive thing we can do. And there are many different ways that we can rest. Here's a list of some of the ways that we can rest. Some ways may be easier for others. For example, physical rest. This kind of means restorative activities such as yoga, stretching, massage therapy. These can all help improve the body's circulation and flexibility. Another type of rest is mental rest. 1 minute to focus on your breath, maybe when you boil a kettle, or just be quiet for a minute. Schedule short breaks to occur every 2 hours throughout your workday. These breaks can remind you to slow down. You might also keep a notepad by the bed to jot down any nagging thoughts that would keep you awake. The third type of rest we need is a sensory rest. Bright lights, computer screens, background noise, and multiple conversations can cause our senses to feel totally overwhelmed. This can be countered by something as simple as closing your eyes for a minute. Close them in the middle of the day, just to have that short sensory break. Or maybe intentionally unplugging some of your electrical devices at the end of the day. Intentional moments of sensory deprivation can begin to undo the damage inflicted by this overstimulating world. The fourth type of rest is creative rest. This type of rest is especially important for anyone who must solve problems or brainstorm new ideas. Allowing yourself to take in the beauty of the outdoors. Even if it's at the local park or in your back garden, it provides you with some creative rest. But creative rest isn't simply about appreciating nature. It also includes the arts. Turn your workstation or a wall at home into a place of inspiration by displaying images of places you love and works of art that speak to you. You can spend 40 hours a week staring at a blank wall or a jumbled surroundings and expect to feel passionate about anything, much less come up with innovative ideas. Fifthly, we've got emotional rest, which means having the time and space to freely express your feelings and cut back on people pleasing. Emotional rest also requires the courage to be authentic. An emotionally rested person can answer the question, "How are you today?" with a truthful, "I'm not okay," and then go on to share some hard things that otherwise go unsaid. It's exhausting when having a baby. Social narrative is wonderful. It's a joyous thing, but our reality may not be that all the time. Sixthly, we've got social rest. This occurs when we fail to differentiate between those relationships that revive us from those relationships that exhaust us. To experience more social rest, surround yourself with positive and supportive people. Lastly, we have spiritual rest, which is the ability to connect beyond the physical and mental and feel a deep sense of belonging, love, acceptance, and purpose. To receive this, engage in something greater than yourself. Maybe add prayer or meditation or community involvement to your daily routine. And lastly, we're going to look at the new me versus the old me. I'd like you to take a moment now to name one thing about you that you don't want to change when you become a mum, and one thing that you'd like to do differently as a mum. There are some really important questions you can ask yourself in order to keep hold of yourself. Do things you enjoy. For example, go for a walk. Don't feel guilty for it because it allows you to be the good mum instead of thinking, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. Whatever it is that you need that allows you to deliver the needs to those you care for, ask yourself, what makes me happy? What makes me smile? And what makes me laugh? What do you value? What brings you a sense of satisfaction? Thinking about this can help you understand what brings meaning into your life and help with finding your motivation. Having a baby brings a new dimension of meaning into your life, and maybe now you're beginning to feel this new sense of what matters growing inside you. Make a list of the things you value. For example, I need to see my friends. I need to get out of the house regularly. I love to make things and be creative. Protecting some time for these things and nurturing them will help you to actually do them when you can. But remember, being flexible is important. Filter and challenge some of the advice others give you. Maybe ask yourself, is this helpful? Sometimes this can be quite challenging, but it's important to think, I should challenge what comes in that is not helpful. You have control over what you receive. You don't have control over what someone says, but you do over what you receive. When people give advice, that does not mean you have to implement it. It can become confusing and really overwhelming. Surround yourself by positivity that's in line with your values and makes you feel good, not rubbish. So that might mean reflecting on what you consume in the way of social media or groups you're part of, sometimes even friends and family. Know your motivation. Asking these questions can help when things are feeling difficult. How will I feel when I've taken care of myself? For example, gone for a walk, I'll feel energized. If I've eaten breakfast, I'll feel ready for the day. How will my baby know I'm taking care of myself? I'll be calm. I'll be able to cuddle them and smile. Do you have a role model? What would they do? For example, she would know when it's time to prioritize her needs. She would know when to ask for help. What would a friend say to me to help me know? She would say, you'll feel much better if you just rest, if you go out, if you accept help, if you get in touch with a friend. What would I say to my best friend to help them if they were stuck? I'd say, be kind to yourself. Have a nap, you're tired. You need a break. Try keeping a gratitude journal. List 3 or more things every night that you're grateful for and why. This starts to build a strong picture of the things that you value and care about that motivate you. So that's the end of my talk. I hope it's given you some food for thought. Try and leave here today thinking about managing your expectations and those around you. Develop rhythms in your daily life and think about what is a priority. Don't be hard on yourself if things don't get done or aren't as you thought they should be. Remember to look after yourself and prioritize your needs, and this includes time to rest. Try and think about who you are and what's important to you. Try and include activities into your daily life with baby that you enjoy, that make you happy, smile and laugh. Thank you for joining me today.